Good morning, everybody. We are live betting for breakfast. Drumheller, Gleckner, powered by Heat Ratio Sports on a beautiful Saturday morning. A gorgeous day out here in Philadelphia. A wonderful day to bet some hockey and cash some tickets. And that's why we brought the best in the business, Dan Vance from Flyers and Ice Pod. Dan, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. I watch your show every weekend, and it's an honor. You guys, to me, are the most knowledgeable people in sports.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot, man. And that's the only bad part about, I think, the Flyers not having a good season is that, it would really be awesome just to be talking about them into the playoffs. And, like it was, last season during the bubble, it was so exciting. And them just having a down year. We kind of have to talk about the NHL in general.
We're milking a dry cow right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. But listen, love the show. Love what you guys are doing. Vance, my man, thank you for joining us today. Excited for these NHL playoffs or what?
Always, man. Mark and Dave, thank you so much for having me, and Dan as well. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and listen, everybody who knows me knows that football is my wheelhouse, right? Football, I'll take it 365. Spring football, I'm betting on the FCS. I'm breaking it down. XFL. Got news, the USFL is back. Can't wait, right? I can take football year run. But there's just something different about the NHL playoffs, man. And, I remember being a kid, chugging 2 liters, Pat LaFontaine scoring in triple overtime for the Islanders. And there's just something about those late night hockey, overtime, double overtime, from the Flyers' perspective. Dave, I remember us being at the bar watching Keith Primo against the Penguins.
It was like 3 a.m.
Yeah, catching a cat at like 7 in the morning.
Yeah. It was great.
There really is nothing better than playoff hockey. The excitement, and just, the do or die, and all these games are close. Dan, what do you think kind of separates hockey from other sports in that manner?
Well, I mean, it's the speed of the game. In the NBA, you still have in the NBA, you talk about how the playoffs slow down and you have the half court sets. NHL, it's just nonstop motion, nonstop hitting. And they try to keep it generally, even in an era of fighting, it slowed down in the playoffs. So it was just a lot of violent hitting, but they knew not to cross the line because you don't want to give the other team the power play. But it's just a nonstop speed, skill. I mean, as the years go on, the players just get bigger, faster, stronger, and it's just continuing. And all these teams are fast teams. And as Vance has said countless times on our show, it's like watching different hockey based on what we saw this year from the Flyers.
Yeah, it really is. And it's, speed has become such an important part of the game. And I think that's what makes it even more exciting is that anything can happen. Like you could have one team, they get a breakaway on one side of the ice, transitions real quick, boom, the other side of the ice. You're never safe. And, I've always loved hockey growing up as a kid, watching it on Prism. Flyers were constantly in the mix, never really winning the cup, but always in the mix enough to keep us engaged, right? And, I just always love it. And even now, I just love these late night hockey games. I stay up, watch them all. The other night, I bet both overtimes. I hit them both. I hit Carolina in overtime. I hit the Bruins in overtime. Wasn't as lucky last night, but, love just breaking down these games. And, Dave, I think the OT just brings a different element that you don't really see in other sports.
It does. It's do or die, right? It's just, and it's like a boxing match too. You got a puncher's chance. You could be dominated all game. You could get I felt like the Islanders were dominating game 3, but got to overtime. And I'll tell you the truth, I took Islanders overtime in that one because I thought they were the lucky team to get to overtime. Now Boston closed it out, but that's the beauty of overtime. It doesn't matter what happened the first 3 periods. You got one shot, one chance. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. And Tony C checking in here. But yeah. Hey, man, I love overtime in hockey. I love hockey playoffs. The other point about hockey playoffs that we love, I feel like the refs swallow that whistle a little bit where the NBA, we're 45 foul shots a game sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I really love the fact that it's let them play. And, let them play. I know there was a penalty in overtime last night, but, it didn't decide the game, which I was happy with. But let them play. The game is fast. It moves. It's just it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a 7-game war, man. And then I love that afterwards they shake hands, right? They line up and shake hands. It's like, Little League. But it just shows that these guys are out there, like, real. I mean, in all sports, they're out there, giving everything. But just something different about hockey. Tony Cotillo checking in. NHL Talk on a Saturday morning. No pretenders here. That is the truth. We are here to give you the best insight and information to place your NHL wagers, which is why we have Dan and Vance here. If you guys haven't watched the Flyer Nice Pod, you got to check it out. It's here on Heat Ratio Sports. You hit the subscribe button, you'll get all our content. Half Court Heat, Sixers making their championship run. Obviously, Flyers content, and then, our betting content. Chris Juicin does the golf show. Tons of information, so make sure you like and subscribe. But let's get into these games today. You can see today's odds below on the ticker. We have the odds board powered by Heat Ratio Sports. But let's start with the first game, which I think is really the more exciting of the two. When you look at the two teams, I think that these two teams have more staying power as we talk about who can go further in the playoffs. But we have Carolina plus 133 at Tampa Bay, minus 155 on the money line. The total's 5.5. Plus 114 to the over, minus 139 to the under. So a lot of people, I think last night, the past couple nights games are influencing these totals. You're seeing a lot of money come over to the under. This is a Tampa Bay team. I can kind of start very seasoned. Obviously they won the Cup. They've been to the Cup before, and a lot of people expected a lot out of Carolina this year, for good reason. And I think that people were surprised to see Tampa kind of come out and get off to such a fast start, 2-0 in the series. I think Carolina is that up-and-coming team that people are just waiting, to break through. Dan, what are your thoughts so far on this series, and what are some of the things that we should be looking for going forward?
Well, I think Tampa Bay is showing why they're a machine. To make it analogous to the Sixers, we were like, we have to get the number 1 seed so we don't have to go through Milwaukee and then the Nets. And look what Tampa Bay's up against. Look at the gauntlet they're going through. They just dispatched Florida, and now they get Carolina, who is no joke. They're a machine, and they didn't have Kucherov the whole season, and he just steps in without any rust whatsoever, showing how he's one of the best players in the world. Stamkos, not much of a factor, and he's still on it. They just have so much depth. Makar, my preseason choice to win the Norris. I'm probably not going to win it, but he showed why I chose them to win the Norris, and they have the best goaltender in the world in Vasilevsky. So I see them just rolling through this. It's just my opinion, and I think I have them in the finals and winning it all.
Well, I love Tampa too, and I'm with you. But what I found interesting was last game, Rod Brindamore made a huge adjustment, and he started goalie Peter Mrazek. Didn't he dust off a few cobwebs in a Flyers jersey a year or two?
Yeah, he was one of the 6 or 7 goalies that year for the Flyers.
Right, yeah, and he had like one good game. We thought, oh yeah, here's that. He's bringing that Detroit pride. But he played well. Only let up 2 goals. But I can't see them plugging him back in there today. Do you? He's no good.
He's athletic. But he's inconsistent. Vance, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, but it was a big adjustment. I give Carolina a lot of credit. They are an up-and-coming team. They do have to make those kind of crazy moves to try and win this series, and that's where I do see a large separation between these two teams, especially when you're playing in Tampa. Vasilevsky, as you mentioned, Dan, tremendous, best goalie in the game, 1.75 goals against average at home, 18-2 record at home. For that reason, I mean, I'm really leaning towards Tampa today, but I have a lot of respect for what Carolina did, and I think they'll make another crazy adjustment today. I'm a little worried if Warren Fogley doesn't dress up. They'll be down 2 or 3 forwards going into today, really thin on the second, third, fourth lines, and I just don't know if that's how you can take 2 games in Tampa. How about you, Vance?
Yeah, I think, in this situation, I think if you're Carolina, you've got to go back to Nedeljkovic, right?
Yep. I think you have to. I do.
You got to go back to him at this point.
Yep.
But honestly, as Dan said, Tampa was my favorite, one of my favorites to get to the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Ultimately, I don't think it's really going to matter whether it's Mrazek or Nedeljkovic in that. I just think Tampa Bay on that side of the bracket is that much better than everybody else. The depth that they have is unreal. especially with them being able to get around that loophole with the salary cap and have the extra guys on the team that normally wouldn't be on a team if they would be on a different team if guys like Stamkos and Kucherov were healthy during the season. They wouldn't have been able to afford all of those players. So that team, they're stacked from top to bottom. I give Carolina a ton of credit. They're a really good team. I love Aho. I love Svechnikov. I love Trocheck. He's been around for a while, but that Tampa team is ready to go. They've already won it once, and they look like they're headed back.
This is music to my ears because I am definitely on the Tampa money line today. You know, when I look at this series, you know, even the last game, I took Carolina in overtime just because of the desperation factor. But if you look at the game, Tampa outshot Carolina 30-24. They had their highest shot output of all series. They had 15 high danger scoring chances in game 3. They had 7 and 8 in games 1 and 2. So that just kind of shows you the offensive pressure and output that Tampa Bay is able to get on Carolina. And with Carolina playing this goaltender carousel, you know, we see it in the other series. Well, we're going to talk about Montreal in a little bit with Carey Price. You know, you need that stability at goaltending to advance in the NHL playoffs. You're not going to get there by just kind of picking your goalie out of a hat. That seems like what Carolina is doing right now. And, you know, I just think that Carolina is in a lot of trouble here. 1 for 8 in the power play in this series. Like I said, I played them in overtime because it was a motivational thing. There's a huge difference between 2-1 and 3-0, right? 3-0 against Tampa Bay. You might as well shine up the golf clubs, right? It's 1-2-3 Cancun. You're out of here. They were desperate, cashed in at plus 138. But when I look at this game, I mean, you know, you guys said it. The goaltending is so important. And Vasilevsky, the best goaltender in the NHL right now. And at minus 155 for Tampa, you know, that's like a 60% win probability, probably 61%. But, you know, and I think that their chances of winning this game are much higher than that. I love Tampa. Pay the extra hold, minus 155. I think that's my play, Dave. Are you got to play on this one? You going to roll with the Lightning?
No, I definitely am. I mean, again, we've laid it all out. I got all the respect in the world for Carolina. I think it's a tough game, but when you're that dominant at home and you have that dominant of a goaltender and you have that experience and you have that stacked of a team, in the end, and I told you, Carolina's got to pull out tricks to make this happen. Might be thin on the forward line. 155, I think, is a discount. I think it's a little bit of bettor's remorse, a little worried about how Carolina play. And we all know Carolina's an up-and-coming real chance to be a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference over the next few years. But, yeah, I like Tampa today for sure.
Any thoughts on the total? 5.5. Yeah. Looks like money's coming in on the under, minus 139. You know, do we expect a low-scoring affair here? Dan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tough one because the thing you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. The thing that could throw a monkey wrench is the empty net goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you could see a 3-2 game and then out of desperation the goalie gets pulled and it's 4-2 and there goes the over under.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking a 3-2 type of game.
Very close, very close. Vance, you on that page, or you think we could get a shutout out of Vasilevsky?
You know what? I think we can expect the high scoring game today, guys.
Oh, nice. I like that. Plus 114. Get a little bit of that plus money.
I think I like that. These games have been played pretty close to the vest so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, these two teams have so much talent offensively that they're going to break out at some point. You know, one or the other. You know, whether it's 4-2, you know, 5-2, you know, 4-3, whatever the case may be. I believe that these teams are going to break out at some point, and we haven't seen that yet. So today might be the day.
Excellent point, Dave. I like that angle because you look at Carolina. What do we talk about? We're all sitting here like talking about Tampa in the next round, right? Like it's over for Carolina. Desperate, they have to open it up on offense. Why? Because they know they don't have the goaltending. They know they got to put the puck in the net. They got to find a way to score on Vasilevsky. It's not going to be easy, so they're going to have to be aggressive. They're going to have to take chances in front of that home crowd. I think I might be leaning towards the over as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a lean, I'd probably go that way. I mean, Carolina was one of the better scoring teams on that side. Third in their division, so they can put the puck in the net. And desperation will spell everything. It'll be interesting to see how the whistle goes too, right? I mean, there haven't been a lot of penalties in this series, so if that changes a little bit today, you get a few more opportunities. Yeah, that does give you a chance there. Special teams are key, obviously, to an over/under.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the second game of the day. The Boston Bruins minus 150 at the New York Islanders plus 128. Over under. This totals at 5 even, minus 114 on the over, plus 107 to the under. So, they bumped this one down from 5.5 to 5, right? A lot of people expecting a tight, low-scoring game out of these two teams. And listen, I was on Boston in game one, gave them out last week on the show. They rolled 5-2. Pastrnak had the hat trick. And I just think that I know these teams are tight, play tight all year. You look at the standings, they were right there. But I just think Boston has more firepower with that line, Bergeron, Marchand. They outshot the Islanders 41-29 in game 3. They outshot the Isles 40-22 in game 1. They had 40-plus shots in all 3 games, plus 10 in high danger scoring chances for the series. So it's not empty shots. They're not just kind of rolling it towards the goalie. They're getting significantly more chances than the Islanders in this series. And this was a series that was supposed to be tight. And I think my concern with the Islanders going forward in this series is the goaltending going to be able to keep up, right? They know they're playing Sorokin, now they're back. They're kind of switching back and forth. Again, not a ton of stability. Tuukka Rask, 1.93 goals against average in the playoffs. I like Boston here. Dan, I would like to hear your thoughts because I believe you chimed in and you kind of like the Islanders a little bit in this series last week. Is that correct?
Well, it wasn't that I like the Islanders. I again, I can't argue. You hit the bet. It was just that I wouldn't have touched that kind of a bet.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
It wasn't necessarily that I like the Islanders. I just think these games, this series in particular, all the series, to me is a coin flip. And everything you just said is spot on true. But the Islanders find a way to keep it close. They are probably the best system team. I think they have the best coach in hockey, in Barry Trotz. And they're doing this without Barzal really doing anything. So, but everything you said is spot on. If any team was designed to maybe shut down a one-line team, it would be the Islanders, and they haven't done it yet. The perfection line has been the perfection line. They've been doing exactly the same script that they followed during the regular season. They're the predominant producers for the Bruins, and it's baffling that the Islanders can't shut them down, considering how they smothered Crosby and company. The first round. So everything you said is spot on true, but as we were talking pre-show, I could see another dominant game by the Bruins, but somehow this game going to overtime. And then once that happens, it's a coin flip again.
Yeah, it really favors the underdog once it gets to overtime because it's just one mistake. Boom,
Right.
boom, boom. You brought up Barzal, and another guy who's been quiet, Vance, has been Brock Nelson. I feel like Boston has done a good job of just kind of keeping the Islanders' stars in check. What do you think the Islanders and Trotz have to do to kind of get the offense going in this series?
That's a good question because they've struggled ever since they lost Anders Lee in the regular season. So this isn't a new thing with them struggling with offense. They've been struggling with it. They have to find a way to get Barzal going. They have to find a way to get him going. I don't know exactly how you do that, but he's the guy that I'm looking at. He's the one that could really change this series around for them. So I don't know, get him out on the ice first, get him going, get him going on the power play. I don't really know. He's the guy though. He's the difference maker. And right now he's been pretty quiet. So, that, like I said, that team has struggled to score pretty much all year. So I don't really know where they go from here.
Yeah, maybe get that hometown New York whistle, right? That'll help them out. Get the power play, get Barzal, those guys going, Brock Nelson. Dave, my picks are feeling awfully chalky, right? I'm on the Bruins here. I'm on the Lightning earlier. Chalk, favorite. But listen, sometimes I think you got to take what the market gives you. What are your thoughts on Bruins Islanders? Am I on the right path here, or do you think New York can steal one?
No, I was just sitting back in the corner waiting for my turn because I'm telling you right now, I'm on the Islanders. I think there's value in this line, and value in this line from a standpoint, I think this series, if you give any advantage to Boston, it's a slight 52-48, 53-47. Implied odds at minus 150 tells me they're a 60% favorite. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting the better number for this close of a matchup at the plus 128. I'm all over it. I think these two teams are that close. And Drums, you mentioned earlier, the one thing that I've keyed on in this series is the shot total. Boston, yes, 40, 42, 41. Those are their 3 shot totals over the first 3 games. The Islanders in the season average allowing 28 per game. I don't know if they can keep up at this high of a rate. I think the Islanders can find a way to, make an adjustment and clamp down. I think Boston's going to come down a little bit with those shot totals, which also tells me I like the under a lot in this game. The Islanders have played 10 of their last 15 home games under the total. We saw the last game at 2-1 clip. I think that's going to be more of an Islanders type game. And Vance and Dan and I talked before, the only way the Islanders can win, low scoring game, low shot game. I think they got to get back to that style. And I do see it coming in game 4. And one of my big reasons, well, I'll give you 2. Barzell, he came out of his shell last game. He had 2 breakaways that he didn't convert on. And then that, all effort, wraparound that tied the game to go in overtime. I think he found his way. That, you can wake a sleeping giant sometimes. First goal. And then lastly, the news of the Coliseum, Nassau Coliseum. I watched 1, 2, I think I've been up there 3 times. What a shithole dump, worse than the Spectrum, right? I'm telling you, this place sucks, but it brings the noise. This could be potentially the last game ever played Nassau Coliseum. They're moving to a new place next year. I don't see them going out this easy. This is an emotional, big game for the Island, big game for Barry Trotz, big game for their players. I think they have the emotional edge today, and I think it's good implied odds.
I like it. Plus money, right? New York plus 128, the under plus 107. Maybe I'll slide away from the side and just play the total in this one to keep myself safe, because I like that under play. And I do think there's a chance that maybe these refs, feel the pressure from New York, big market. It's going to be loud. Maybe they, use that whistle a little bit to their advantage. Maybe they want these New York fans to have something else to dance about, right? The Knicks are gone. They can't be dancing in the street. I mean, they need another playoff win somewhere, right? So maybe they get it today with the Islanders. It's going to be a fun game.
Let me ask you this. I think Varlamov starts in net again. I think he played a tremendous game. This is similar to what Carolina did when we talked with Mrazek. What about you guys? You think he earned another start even with a loss?
The only thing is, it was such a bad overtime goal.
Yeah,
that's the.
It was good if you bet the Bruins.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you're Trotz, is that the lingering memory in your head when you make this goaltending decision?
Yeah, good point.
So I don't know. Again, I hate to sound like a cop out, but that decision, like the series, is a coin flip, and that's why I agree with Dave 100%. That if I am going to take a gamble, since this is a betting show, I would lean towards New York, because I like the plus 128
better odds, yeah.
because it these games are going to be tight, and I'm predicting at least 2 more overtime games in this series.
Absolutely exciting, man. Good stuff. I can't wait. It's going to be a good game. I'm definitely taking Tampa on the side. Maybe going to lead to the under on this one, plus 107. I think I kind of like that, because I just don't trust. I don't know if I can back a team that can't score and has some instability in goaltending, but you're right. The line value is with New York at plus 128. So let's talk about, the games last night, and some of the, the series odds now have shifted in those 2 games. We'll start with the big one, Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights. Listen, Golden Knights came out. I got burned on this one. I had a minus a half a goal for the first period money line, and they outshot them, I think, 15-3 in the first period, and could not get a goal. And then the Avalanche takes a 2-1 lead. You think everything is done for the Knights, and here they come. They come back. They get the victory 3-2 last night. Dan, what are your thoughts in this series? Colorado is a team that a lot of people had predicted to go to the Cup. Vegas, kind of undervalued, I feel like, with Colorado getting all the attention. It's a team that won 40 games during the regular season.
No, there's nothing. This is to me the most exciting series of them all, in my opinion, from the perspective of for me, I do think Colorado is a better team, but my preseason prediction, I want it to hold true. I had Vegas, Tampa Bay in the finals, with Tampa Bay winning it all. And you wouldn't know, you couldn't guarantee that would be the seeding, but it's going to play out that way, regardless of which team wins this round. that's potentially going to be the Stanley Cup Finals, whether it's Colorado, Vegas against Carolina, Tampa Bay. It's going to happen. But Colorado has so much speed. It's unreal. I mean, McKinnon is so good. But to that point, this Vegas team is playing like the Vegas team that I saw last year that dominate. I've said this so many times on all my shows. They lost in 5 games to Dallas, but dominated that series. I've never seen a team lose in 5 and dominate every single game. Double Dallas in shots, and that's what's happening in this series. The last 2 games, they dominated play. Over 40 shots both games. Colorado were in the 20s, and they lost game 2, and they almost pissed away game 3 had it not been for a fluke goal ricochet off the backside of Colorado's goalie, and then they scored 25 seconds later. But Vegas owns the zone when they play hockey, but they don't have great snipers. They love hitting the crest of the goalie. And against a good team, that could bite them. Ultimately, if you're asking me, I think Colorado wins this series, but I think Vegas has a shot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, they have to get back into the series, but one of the reasons why, we look at the series line and it actually dropped and moved a little bit more towards Vegas' favor, obviously, with the win last night. Colorado minus 305 now, which is a little bit over a 75% chance win probability, Vegas plus 235. And I think the reason you're seeing that is because with Colorado going up 2 games in the series, right? We knew that these could be, the 2 best teams in the NHL, facing off. This is the series that everybody wanted to see. I think that the big challenge with these 2 teams is that, when one goes up 2-0, when Colorado goes up 2-0, ultimately Vegas has to win 4 to 5 games. And winning 4 to 5 games against a team like Colorado, even if it was vice versa, if Vegas went up 2-0 and Colorado had to win 4 or 5 games against Vegas, it just seems like such an uphill mountain to climb. That I don't know if they can get back in it. Like, even if they can win game 4 at home, I still think that they could struggle to end up winning the series. Vance, what are your thoughts on what we can expect the rest of the way here from the Avalanche and the Golden Knights?
Very similar to the theme that we've seen pretty much all season with these teams. I would say Vegas is one of those teams, as Dan said, that when you look at the Corsi stats every year, they dominate the offensive zone. They spend pretty much 55% of the game in the offensive zone. The difference is Colorado dominates the scoreboard. They have guys that can pick a corner, whereas Vegas, I was laughing with the guys before the show. I said they're more like the Trent Clapp Flyers. They spend a lot of time in the zone, but they tend to hit the goalie square in the chest. So, for that reason, I just, you look at McKinnon, a guy like McKinnon, he's got 8 goals in 7 games. You've got guys like Rantanen. You've got guys like Cal McCarr on the back line. It's unfair, the embarrassment of riches that Colorado has on offense. And that's ultimately what I think is the difference maker in this series. Vegas is a really good team. Colorado is a great team.
And if I could interject something that we talked pregame, I think Vegas did themselves a monster disservice by starting Lerner in game 1.
Yeah.
I think that, Dave referenced earlier about turning the tide of a series. That immediately almost flipped the series on its head. I was just a mind-boggling decision. You ride the hot goalie, and Fleury's been amazing. And that was just a stupid decision. And I think it took the air right out of the balloon immediately. And again, as Vance just indicated, and as you referenced, Mark, Colorado is the kind of team that can come back easier, I think, against Vegas because they have snipers. And Vegas does not. So to start a series off with your backup goalie made no sense to me. And Lerner's solid, don't get me wrong, but it was not at this time.
It doesn't really exude confidence to the team either when you kind of make these rash decisions. Dave, I'm going to finish up with you here. Vegas, I know you like plus money. Vegas 235. Is there value there, or is this Colorado series to win?
There's a lot of value still in Vegas at 235. The before the series, I think Vegas was plus 200. So if you look at this, you haven't had a road team win yet. and now you're getting a little bit better odds than you had at the beginning of the series. So if you liked Vegas at the beginning of the series, and now you're up to plus 235, and everything's held script, to me, I do think there's value. Now, obviously, that's if you like Vegas. I'm just saying there's value to stick with this. There's reasons to like Colorado. If you have all alluded to earlier, they are probably the stronger team from top to bottom. They're so deep. They can score from any line. They're that good. And Vegas has some issues, obviously. We've seen, and you're right, Dan. I mean, the fact that they just, I feels like Flyers hockey sometimes just throw it on. Sometimes we don't throw it on the net, but when we do, we just hit them right in the chest. Correct. And it's just, the Vegas has just come to this theory of I'm just going to just keep throwing them up there. And 43 last game, and they finally get the third one late in the game. I mean, it could work. We'll see. They've dominated, to me, the last 2 games, but as you alluded to earlier, that doesn't result in wins all the time. What's key to me in this, Colorado's already pounded 5 power play goals. Vegas only 1. Peter DeBoer, cried everything after game 2 about the power play differential, 6-3. He got 2 in the first period last game, didn't cash them in, didn't get any for the rest of the game. So if Vegas is going to want to win the series, they need to improve on the special teams. They need to cash in on that power play. Otherwise, they are not going to be able to handle. Colorado is going to be able to score on their power play. They're almost at a 50% clip in this series. They're fantastic. Vegas has to combat that with their own special teams here. So for me, I do begrudgingly like Colorado to win this series. I really want to take Vegas, but I just think it, like you said earlier, winning 4 out of 5 and giving up game 1 against a great team just might be too much for this Vegas team. I
agree with you 100%. I just think to beat Colorado 4 out of 5, like I'm just playing the numbers. Like I don't think there's a team on earth that could do that in this type of situation with everything on the line. Moving on to the other series, Montreal minus 625 to win the series after going up 2-0 on Winnipeg. Winnipeg plus 425. The odds are telling you that this one is a wrap for the Winnipeg Jets. It's over. Carey Price just dominating right now. You can't score on him. He's just like a brick wall. And, I think it's curtains for the Jets. Does anyone here think the Jets have a prayer? I just want to touch on this real quick before we get on the Stanley Cup odds. They're cooked, right? They're cooked. Vance,
definitely
they're out of here. Get us out of here.
We talked about it a little bit in the pregame when you were setting up, Mark. That penalty, that charge he did that, deserved 4-game suspension, took all the momentum away from this team. All right, your best player has to leave the ice for 4 games, down 1-0, wrap it up, send it in, it's over. Like that just takes all the air out of the balloon, but also it was completely unnecessary. And I just think these teams were kind of even going in, and then you take the best player off the ice. Forget about it, and you got Carey Price.
I think that's the key there.
I agree, Mark. I mean, if you look at Montreal, they don't have a guy in the top 20 in scoring in the playoffs, but they have Carey Price, and that's the difference.
Yep.
Yeah, it is the difference. And, what's the difference last series? That's how they got there. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think they'd get past the Leafs, to be honest with you, even though, everybody gets past the Leafs. But I thought that they'd finally end the streak, and they didn't. But let's talk about Stanley Cup odds, right? We got them at the bottom of the screen here. Colorado leading the way at plus 150. Then you got Boston and Tampa Bay, Vegas, Montreal, Carolina. And, of course, Winnipeg is just lighting your money on fire. Now, I did place a wager on the Colorado Avalanche at plus 280 before the last round after they stormed by the Blues. And I just think that I'm still on Colorado. I think they're going to win the Cup. I think they're too deep. McKinnon, 8 goals, 5 assists in 11 games. Ratnan's plus 30 this season. He has 11 points in the playoffs. Colorado, they have like 3 players with 10-plus points. They got McKinnon, Ratnan, and Landeskog. So I just think that they're dominant, man, and they put themselves in such a good position in such a pivotal series against the Golden Knights. I like what I'm seeing. They outscored the Blues. I mean, they dominated them 20-7 in a 4-game sweep. And, McKinnon's 2.17 points per game in the playoffs, ranked 7th in history. Gretzky and Lemieux have 5 of the 6 ahead of them. So that puts them in pretty good company. Nathan McKinnon has the Colorado Avalanche rolling. I think that I got him at 280. I think that's great value. Down to 150 now. I would still bet it. I think this is Colorado's Cup to win. Dan, and Vance, you guys talked about Tampa as if you like Tampa. Tampa plus 400, very good odds. Are they your pick for the Stanley Cup?
For me, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you said about Colorado is true. And Vance preseason predicted them to be in the finals against Tampa. But some of the stats you referenced, you can't deny them. But that 7-1 game, they really padded those stats. The top three studs have been somewhat invisible, other than Rantanen's goal last game. But they padded their stats in that 7-1 win. Tampa Bay, to me, is the machine of this playoffs. And I do think Colorado is going to face them in the finals, but I lean towards Tampa. But if you get that far, anything can happen, right?
Absolutely. Our man Arroyo checking in said nice beat plus 280. I like it too, man. I like Colorado at that price. I wish I would have got him earlier, but I felt like I was a little late to the party. But I like what I'm seeing out of them, and it's going to be exciting. And Dan, I think the point that you bring up is a very valid one. That like once you get to the Cup, man, it's gonna be two tremendous teams. Whether it's Tampa and Colorado or whatever the matchup is, and anything can happen, man. One game can really turn it. And listen, when you have Vasilevsky, he could just decide nobody's going to score. We're seeing that with Carey Price, right? Just nobody scores. There's going to be no goals, and you can't lose if you don't let up any goals, right? Vance, who are you looking at before we wrap up to win the Stanley Cup this season, and why?
Tampa's been my favorite, my preseason favorite, and I'm going to stick with that. And as you alluded to, Mark, I was saying this before the show, I just think Vasilevsky is the difference in the series. I think he's a much better goaltender than Grubauer. I think if you look at the two teams, a lot of it is even, but I go Vasilevsky because he's the better goalie. And Tampa Bay's been there. They've won one. And you can't, those are the types of intangibles that count that time of the season. They've been there, they've done it. And, I expect them to do it again this year.
Yeah, especially in a 7-game series. If they go down, they're not going to get frustrated. They've been there. It's no big deal to them. They're not going to be overtaken by the situation. So a lot of value on Tampa at plus 400. Dave, I'm going to kick it to you before we wrap up. Anything on the board that you like here? Boston plus 400, Tampa plus 400. You said there's some value at Vegas to win the series. If they win that series, that plus 650 looks awfully juicy.
Yeah, I'm going to play a little. I'm going to go down in the back alley and gang up on Colorado. Listen, I know what type of team they are, and we all have documented how good, and they probably are the best team on paper. But that doesn't mean they're really that ready to win this Stanley Cup this year. I'm going to go and double up on the Eastern Conference teams. I'm going to hit Boston, and I'm going to hit Tampa right now. Because for me, I'm going to get one of those in the finals. They are beating Montreal. So I'm already getting that little advantage there with 2 plus 400s. Then, because by the time we get to the Cup, you're going to be looking at a minus 110 line for Colorado, maybe a minus 130. They go against Tampa. I think it's a pick 'em. They go against Boston. Maybe they're a slight favorite. So I can get 2 plus 400s now, where all I know is they just got one of them's going to get there. No doubt about it. And then I'm probably going to throw a half a bet on Vegas at this line, not the plus 235 in the series, because, again, for me on this other side, I think this next team gets past who they got? Winnipeg? No. Who they got next?
Montreal's got
Montreal. I'm sorry. Yeah. I flipped on that one. That's who gets by Montreal and gets there. I'm sorry. And Boston,
That's
Tampa, one of those will get there. So I think the Colorado Vegas has an easy path. So I'm going to load up with the 3 next best odds, play a little almost what we call a little round robin bet, little trifecta, and see if I can hit one, because I'm ganging up against an Avalanche. I don't know if they have it mentally yet. Nathan McKinnon, yes, you mentioned he has 8 goals. I think 7 are in garbage time. Like, I think he has 1 clutch goal in these playoffs so far. Nothing against him. I'm just saying I got to see that guy step up. Like the other night, could have been a big time. And the lights just get brighter the next couple series.
Very true. I love that angle, taking the 2 at plus 400. Just got to get one to the finals. One of them wins, you definitely cash. You're going to be in the green. Did a similar thing in the NBA with the conference finals, but love the angle. And listen, guys, I had a tremendous time we're going to let Dan and Vance go, and then we're going to me and Dave are going to give you guys our 3 plays of the day, our 3 packs that we do every weekend. So, guys, Dan and Vance, before you leave, number one, thank you for coming on. This is tremendous. We absolutely have to do it again. But tell all the people what you're doing with the Flyer and Ice podcast. I know you guys got the Facebook group going. You had Jim Jackson on there doing a ton of tremendous stuff. So let everyone know where they can listen to you, where they can find you, and all the great things you're doing.
Well, Flyer and Ice is on all socials. With this being, like you said, a bad season for the Flyers, our next show will probably be more discussion of playoff hockey. We're looking to continue to line up decent guests throughout the summer. And then as the next year rolls around, hopefully we'll have a Flyers team that made some transactions to talk about, exciting transactions. Some of the people that are in this playoff that we would love to see on our team. So for the summer, we're going to discuss playoff hockey and continue to find great guests.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. Well, guys, thank you for coming on. Vance, where can everybody follow you on social media?
Well, guys, I am on Twitter. That is the only social media account I have at this time. My underscore is crew_love0 on Twitter. You can follow me there.
All right, perfect. And Dan, where can they follow you?
At DMG Teach on Twitter, at Flyer and Ice Pod on Twitter. We have a terrific Facebook page, Flyer and Ice on Facebook. I guess we need to get an Instagram thing going, right, guys? But other than that, we're on all socials.
Nice.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Guys, thanks again for joining us. We'll have to do it again soon.
It was our pleasure, man. You guys are the best.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Awesome.
Yeah, those guys are great, man. Flyer and Ice podcast. Check it out. Subscribe to Heat Ratio Sports, and you will get all their episodes. Dave, we have a couple minutes left for our 3 packs before we wrap up here in a few minutes. I'm going to let you fire them all first. Let's just run down your 3 real quick, and then I'll run down mine, and then we'll call it a day and get to betting on these games.
Yeah. All right. So let me, I'm just writing this. So we'll go MLB first one. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays today. Rich Hill had one of the best months ever for a 40-year-old pitcher. In fact, it's being ranked as the best month ever. ERA under 1. He was tremendous for Tampa last month. He's hitting his stride. Texas stinks. You're getting a -145 on a very, very good Tampa team with a hot pitcher. Give me Tampa -145 against the Texas Rangers today in baseball. I'm also going to flip over to NBA real fast. If you got one game on the slot, and it's a big game. It's the one that, a lot of people even think could be a preview of the finals in the Eastern Conference. Not really giving the Sixers that love because the, unknown of Embiid. I tell you what, give me the Bucks today. +4 against the Brooklyn Nets. I kind of like, as we've documented, I told you before the playoffs, the Bucks had that value. They're playing with less weight on their shoulders as the underdog. Giannis looking like a mean man. Like, I thought they should have lost that game 4 in Miami, and they came back and stomped them in the fourth quarter. They look focused. They look good. I think they'll put up a game today. Give me them +4. Milwaukee in the NBA. And then lastly, I'll go back to MLB. No shock here. I got to take one big favorite. But until, it's my Charlie Hoffman theory, as I talk about on Wednesday night. Until this loses, I'm going to keep on betting black. And that's the Chicago White Sox. Faced up against another left-handed pitcher today. They're going up against, and they have their, presumed ace on the mound and Lucas Giolito going up against a weak Tigers team, but a Tigers team that did sweep the Yankees recently. So I think the Tigers are going to come back and regress a little bit as they started to do this week. But with Skubal out there, lefty against the Chicago White Sox, give me Giolito and the White Sox -210 today. That'll clean up my 3-pack.
Absolutely love it. And I'm going to fire off mine real quick so we can get you guys out of here. Listen, the UFC, I gave you Rosenstruck a week early last week, but, that fight goes off tonight. Still like him, but I'm not going to include that in my 3. So you get 4 this week out of me because you only got 2 last week. We did go 2-0 with Boston and Utah, so let's keep the streak going. Dave, I'm on the Bucks as well. Take the Bucks with the points in Brooklyn. I just think that Brooklyn doesn't have the defense to kind of give Giannis some of those problems that we've seen him have in the past in playoffs. And I think if that Milwaukee offense can kind of do what they want, it's going to be a high-scoring game, lots of variance. I think Milwaukee can steal one, especially in game one. Brooklyn might not be prepared for what is coming out of the Milwaukee Bucks. And then a game I talked about earlier, I like Tampa on the money line today in the NHL. Yeah. I'm making that my number 2 pick. I think that they definitely get the job done against Carolina. And then my third one, I'm going to go with the Belmont. I'm going to go with Rock Your World. That's my horse, baby. I think there's unfinished business from the Derby with these three. You look at Known Agenda, you look at Essential Quality, you look at Rock Your World. I love Rock Your World. I think you get early speed, and I think he can get out to a lead. I think he can maintain that lead. I love him coming out of the 7th post. I think it really makes a difference. In the Derby, he got kind of, beat up at the gate. I don't think that's going to happen now that he has better position. So I like Rock Your World. That's what I'm playing with the horses today, and that's going to be my 3-pack. So we got Tampa, we got Milwaukee, we got Rock Your World. Sounds like 3-0 to me.
Yeah, what are you getting him in the Belmont? What was he, 5 to?
Yeah, it's 9-2. I don't know exactly what it's at now.
Yeah, I saw 5-1. Yeah,
5-1. Yeah. That works to me. That works
Yes.
for me. Punch it in, get the cash, pour some tequila, enjoy your day. But that's going to do it for us. We got to get out of here. Listen, had an awesome time, Dave. We're going to do it again next week. We'll be back with some more winners. We'll be back. If you like golf, check us out Wednesday night with the golf betting show. If not, we're going to be back probably talking some more basketball next Saturday. So punch in those bets, get that money, and we will see you next week.